Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and LEAP, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with Test School and Life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating topic we want to explore today is how to win scholarships. But first, let's meet our special guest, Leia LeMaster Horton.
Leia LeMaster Horton is the founder of Horton Test Prep and a nationally recognized test prep professional and scholarship expert in the college prep industry. She is a featured speaker at homeschool conferences and college fairs across the country and has been on numerous podcasts and webinars guiding families through the often stressful college preparation process. As a founding member of the National Test Prep Association, a scholarship judge, certified test prep instructor, and creator of the digital course Secrets to Earning Scholarships, Leia is passionate about helping students raise their ACT, CLT, and SAT scores, unlock scholarship opportunities, and make their dream schools a reality. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Leia, it's a pleasure to have you here today. I can't believe that this is only your second appearance on the show, the first being a test prep profile. Obviously, the topic we're going to explore today is really important, but before we get into that, assuming that listeners haven't all listened to your test prep profile, can you share a bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. I've been an educator for over 25 years. I both homeschooled for 18 years, also worked at a private Christian school teaching Latin, speech and debate. And then after teaching algebra 3 times over, I ended up realizing, I really love math. And so I kind of snowballed into the test prep industry back in 2015. And so I also just really love helping families learn how to go after scholarships. So I've been doing that since then as well.
And you've developed a very specific program for that, right?
Yes, that just launched this past year. The name of the digital course is Secrets to Earning Scholarships, and it walks students through the entire process of how to win, because there are other scholarship programs out on the market, but they really just teach you need to get this, you need to get this to get ready, right? And here's the 1,000 scholarships. That's not really helpful. It doesn't start off being a numbers game. Really, students need to learn how to make every single aspect of their scholarship application be stellar and memorable. Then it becomes a numbers game.
How did you find yourself getting into the scholarship, like helping students with scholarships?
With my own kids, it was one of those things where we needed to go after scholarships. And so I was very fortunate to help my oldest won 52 full tuition scholarships.
Wow.
I don't typically announce that because it sounds very braggadocious, but I will say 39 of those full tuition scholarships were Bright Futures, which is the scholarship in Florida when you have high test scores. But she also won 13 other full tuition scholarships and other private outside scholarships. And so that just started the process. And that was back between 2011 and 2013. And then, my friends were like, hey, can you help me? Can you help my child? And so that's where both test prep and becoming a scholarship consultant started, is way back then.
It's kind of interesting in our industry how some people do with other, get into it because you start helping your own kids and you realize that you've learned something along the way that others can benefit from. So that's really, really interesting. So you were obviously talking about getting scholarship, helping your kids find scholarships. What I think is kind of interesting is the timeline of that. Can you start by just telling us a little bit, like, when should students start going after these scholarships?
You can go after scholarships in 8th and 9th grade, but typically I do recommend starting fall of junior year. And it kind of ties into when to start preparing for the college entrance exams as well, which I think it's very beneficial for students to start spring semester of 10th grade, because usually the test prep journey is somewhere around 5 months for most students if they're just training once a week. And the question really is, when should students reach their highest score ever, which I believe is October of their junior year, because not only will they potentially score high on the PSAT for becoming a National Merit Scholar, but it also gets great solid scores on the books, right, for the SAT or ACT, so that December of their junior year, they can start going after merit-based scholarships.
But when I hear you say that, Leah, I think, well, the only way I can really follow your plan is if I'm accelerated in math. Because a lot of students take Algebra 2 in junior year. They're not ready for if they haven't done that, they're not ready to knock it out of the park in October, right?
I think that students that have finished Algebra 1 could start the test prep journey. Are there a few additional advanced topics that they would need to learn through that test prep journey? Yes, absolutely. But I do believe a lot of students are ready to go after like test prep journey starting potentially either the spring semester of 10th grade or hitting it hard between 10th and 11th grade, especially if they are going to be wanting to go after merit-based scholarships.
And merit-based scholarships, because it's interesting, because I'm thinking about merit-based scholarships, and absolutely, right? In order to qualify for merit-based scholarships, you need a strong matrix of grades and test scores based on the entering an institution. And tons of public university systems have that information that you can kind of target, like you mentioned, Bright Futures. It's really clear if you're in Florida where you need to land. And a lot of private schools have that. Is that the only kind of scholarship that students should be going for? Because I have others in mind, and I have a feeling you do too.
Absolutely. There's three different types of scholarships. There's merit-based, there's financial need-based, and then there's impact into the world, right? As in the student has shown perseverance or they have a desire to impact the world in some way. So I would say that's three different buckets that they could go after those types of scholarships. I'm just saying, as far as tied to test scores,
Yeah.
that would be going after the merit-based scholarships. And there are some really big scholarships, some of my favorite private scholarships, where you apply fall of junior year.
Hmm.
That's why if you were going to be a competitive applicant for those scholarships, it would be beneficial to already have those high scores on the books.
Hmm.
And the deadline's December of junior year, but I'm referring to the President Coolidge Scholarship. That's
Yeah, the
my
Coolidge
absolute
Scott. Yeah.
favorite. So that's my favorite in America because what's nice about that, I think every high school junior should go for it. Absolutely. And here's why. The process of applying is what's valuable. The process of applying helps the student realize, oh, I need letters of recommendation. Oh, I need to write my student resume. Oh, I need strong scores on the books, right? It's just a wonderful deadline for the student. Yes, the reason I like it, that scholarship, is because, of course, it's a full tuition scholarship. So full tuition and room and board, right? That's valued at roughly, I don't know, 15,000 per year to any college the student chooses. So it's an over the top scholarship.
Which is important because most of the most lucrative scholarships can sometimes be just that particular institution based, whereas you're saying this
Right.
is something you could take it anywhere,
Anywhere.
anywhere you want to go.
Right. And so,
So the value in applying for Coolidge is sort of that you start to engage in the whole admissions
yes,
process
absolutely.
as almost not a dry run, but a run that could be a lucrative like reward at the
Yeah,
end.
absolutely. And here's the thing, there are only two winners, overall winners of the President Coolidge Scholarship each year, but they have 100 winners of the Coolidge Senators. And I have helped multiple students win that scholarship. That is $1,000 trip to Vermont to network with the who's who of tomorrow. And that's also a quite prestigious scholarship.
Right.
But really, what's valuable is that deadline because it helps students get all the pieces of the puzzle ready so that they can start going after a lot more scholarships spring semester of junior year, as well as all through their senior year and all through college as well.
And I'm wondering if you have some students start earlier looking at scholarships, ultimately they have more time to apply for more scholarships and there's a greater potential to have a greater financial reward then, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is, families think, oh, this is going to take forever. It really doesn't. If a student gets organized, they have these three pre-written essays that have been vetted. They've spent time editing and tweaking them. And I'll get into what those are in a minute. But if they have those ready, I'd love for them to start going after one scholarship per week, starting in December of their junior year. So I normally suggest Sundays by 6, scholarship search and submit. That just means check in with mom and dad, find out, hey, what scholarship am I going for? If it's due Tuesday at 5, you are not turning it in Tuesday at 5, right? Too many times, this has truly happened, where a student already wrote an essay for scholarship, but then they didn't apply because it
Right.
was due Tuesday at 5, and they were at an orthodontist appointment. And I'm like, oh no, no more. We're not turning it in right before it's due. No, it needs to be turned in the Sunday by 6 before the deadline that it's due. But that process of getting organized with having their letters of recommendation, their, really well written student resume, right? That those pre-written essays, so that the student is just tweaking and tailoring the essay to their prompt, to the
Yeah, that
scholarship.
makes perfect sense. I want to go back to timeline because everything you say about starting really early, ideally in junior year, is smart. But we are towards the end of February right now. And
Mhm.
I heard from a family that we worked with who got into schools that he's looking for. He's a senior in
Mhm.
February, and his mom is like, so what about scholarships? And I
Oh,
feel like it might be like it's obviously too late for some things, but is it still possible for a senior, even in the second semester, like towards the end of senior year, are there still scholarships available?
absolutely. Absolutely. And there are a ton of scholarships for high school seniors. But I will say I would probably up it from going after one scholarship per week to going after two to three. And I would start using the search engines. That's, your best friend because
When you say search engines, do you mean Google or do you mean like
no,
special
I
scholarship
mean
search
special
engines?
scholarship search engines. I really like bold.org and scholarships.com. And so I would join two. And if you're not getting enough scholarships that are a match, then go for more. So here's what I like about bold.org. It's a small database. I mean, you can go into Bold and create a scholarship for your grandmother if you want to. So but it has thousands of scholarships in it, so I don't want to apply. It's
Right.
too small. But what I like about Bold is that if it's completely free for the student, if they go in and create an account that puts their areas of interest, their hobbies, as well as their potential area of study. Well, the cool thing is that Bold is going to send the student not only scholarships matched to their major, but also to their interests. So if they put in there they love photography, right, they're also going to be getting scholarships about photography to go after. What I like about a large database like scholarships.com is the fact that you can search for scholarships based on your major. And it's a larger database, as in a lot more scholarships are on it. And so when the student joins these free scholarship search engines, Going Merry is an example of one as well. But these search engines will then send scholarships that are a match to the student. That's why I recommend creating a new email address, have it be professional. I had one of my students, and his email address was Body Bag Bill and then a couple of numbers. And I'm like,
I had Lord Vader one
yeah,
time, so there you go.
yeah, no, no, no. We need to change this to have something very professional.
Right.
And so that all of the emails that come into that inbox are going to be scholarship related. That's one of the benefits of doing that. The student just needs to remember to check it often so that it's not something that's, not seen. But it is very beneficial to start that process at home, right? While mom and dad can be encouraging the student to go after it, after those scholarships and get it done.
Now you're talking about lots of different scholarships, obviously, that students can avail themselves of. I'm wondering, do you feel like winning scholarships is primarily a numbers game, or does it involve some kind of strategy and positioning for a
Yeah,
student?
it ends up becoming a numbers game later. It doesn't start off a numbers game. And what I mean by that is the student needs to learn how to make their scholarship application, every single aspect of it, be stellar and memorable, not just a memorable essay. Right? Essays are very, very, very important, but everything. It's usually having stellar letters of recommendation, right? Having a stellar narrative high school student resume, as well as having a extremely well written essay that has gone through the process, has been vetted of going from good to better to best, and then better than best. And what I mean by that is when students write a rough draft for their scholarship prompt, right? They need to realize that what they first wrote is either good or barely good, right? And so it's got to go on a journey of learning how can we take that rough draft, that good, and what are the specific things that they can do to make it better? What they need to learn how to identify what the strengths and areas of improvement are in their essay so that the student can be trained to learn how to bring it along to each version. And so that's very important for the student to realize those essays need to be edited and vetted, right? And so there's 3 essays that I think that are very, very important to already have written, right, when they start that going after scholarships process. So
what are those essay prompts that you're thinking about there?
I think, well, before I even get into the specifics, I just want to make sure that people realize they need to clearly answer the prompt. And
you and I have seen that. Well, I mean, Leah and I have especially seen this because we've sat on the Gene Lucas Scholarship Committee together, where there is a very specific prompt that we certainly see plenty of students who do not even address the prompt.
Right, because that scholarship, in essence, is for students that love advanced vocabulary. And the question is sort of like, do you describe yourself as a word nerd, right? So many times students say, well, I'm not really a word nerd, but, right? Well, they shouldn't have applied.
And then, right, you're already done. Thank you. We learned the same thing, Amy. Remember when we offered a scholarship before the Gene Lucas Scholarship? And what we learned as we were putting that together is that is the way that you can eliminate most students from consideration. You provide clear instructions, and anyone who doesn't follow those instructions, that's one less application you have to read.
You're done. Yeah.
So your point is so good, because if people just listen, it's kind of like when we're doing test prep and we tell people you have to read the question and answer the question. And they're like, no, what I'm going to answer the question I think it is. No. You answer the question in front of you. If you follow the directions and you respond to the prompt and you do all the things that the application tells you to do, you've crossed a hurdle. You've jumped a hurdle that many people stumble on.
Right. And I just feel like, and I'm about to go into the 3 different types of essays. The most important essay that a student writes in high school is going to be their personal statement essay. So that personal statement essay that hopefully they're writing fall of junior year will definitely morph into their college entrance essay, because it'll be an essay that they've spent time tweaking and editing that's going to tell a linear story of what have they done in the past that have gotten to them to the point of now, of what they're doing now, that's leading to what they want to do in their life in the future, what potential impact they want to have, right? So the majority of time, a really well-written personal statement essay is just going to be all about the student and what makes them tick and what they're passionate about and what they think they might possibly want to do with their life. So I call that the dot. I just want students to know that dot may change. What is the answer to those questions for that potential dot today? Just know that, you may change your mind, change your major, whatever, but for today, right? And so it's really vital for the student to start that journey of writing the personal statement essay, spend time tweaking it, taking it from good to better to best, and then better than best, which is how to make it stand out and be different from others. But the reason that personal statement essay is so important, so vital, besides the fact that it turns into their college entrance essay, is the fact that it answers 4 of the top 10 scholarship prompts. So this is according to Going Merry, which is a very well-known scholarship search engine. They put out the top 10 scholarship prompt questions nationwide, and the personal statement essay answers 4 of those questions. So that's a very important one. The second is the question of how have you made an impact on your community, right? So more of a community service type of question. And then the third, which is actually the number 1 scholarship question, which was kind of surprising for me, was how will this scholarship money help you? The number 1 scholarship prompt question. And I sat and thought about it, and I realized that all these scholarship committees across the nation are wanting to make sure that their money is being well spent. So that prompt of how the scholarship money help you helps them realize by reading these essays, they're choosing the one that's going to have the most impact, right?
Right.
And so I thought that was pretty vital, but it's very beneficial for the student to have those three pre-written essays that are vetted, really good. And then they are just minorly tailoring them to the specific scholarship prompts.
Mm-hmm. And when you say tailoring them, it could be as fundamental as making sure you get right the scholarship that you're applying to in the essay.
Yes, absolutely. And truly answering the question fully,
Right.
right? And I've only seen one time where a scholarship said you cannot have used this essay previously. I've only seen all my years.
What is your recommendation if you see that? How would they know?
Then you follow the rules. Yeah, well, I'm going to say you follow the rules. You write a new
Follow the
essay,
rules.
right?
That's
You
fair,
follow the
right?
rules.
That's fair.
But I do think that students need to know a couple things. Number one, never plagiarize. Never steal somebody else's essay that has won scholarships and claim it as your own. Seen that before. But if it's been published on the internet, it can be found. And a lot of scholarship committees are now using an AI detection software. So it's very important for the student to realize they need to write this essay themselves.
Yes, that's very important, right? Like you almost think it should go without saying, but it doesn't.
Yeah, they need to write it themselves. It is fine to get parents to give their opinions on it if they're not rewriting it. I think it's fine to have somebody read over it and give suggestions for improvement. That's fine, right? Unless, right, the scholarship rules say you're not allowed to have any input. But for the most part, it is very beneficial for the student to have input in that process of perfecting their student resume that needs to tell the narrative of their high school story and tell it well.
We know that when we talk about college essays, college application essays, if there's a whiff of ghostwriting, if the essay reads like, say, a middle-aged mom, then it probably will get rejected. Does that happen in scholarship essays?
That's a great question. I think that sometimes it's easy to, if you are familiar with ChatGPT, it's easy to identify some of the writings that are more ChatGPT.
Well, I just meant not necessarily AI written, but written by a parent or a professional.
Yeah, I think that depends on, the scholarship committee's ability to identify that, but you run the risk. And I think it needs to have the students' passion in the essays, right? They need to be passionate about their interests and passionate about their desire to, make a contribution to the world. And if they've done a purpose project or a passion project, then, that could be something that they end up writing about. And at the end of the day, their essay needs to stand out, because the thing about being a scholarship judge, which I've been doing for many, many years now, and both Distinguished Young Women Scholarship as well as our Word Nerd Scholarship in honor of Jean Lucas, is the fact that I'm usually reading 30 essays at a time, and they blur in my mind. Right. So there's got to be something that
I've read like 100. So yeah, I
stands out at a time. I'll try to only do 30 at a time. But as a scholarship judge, there's specific things that I'm looking for. Right. And that in the area of writing, it's the not just grammatically correct and not just advanced vocabulary, right? But there's got to have that little extra something that makes it better than best.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. We covered a lot, and I know there's a lot more to cover. If you could express one more strong idea for students who are really eager to win scholarships, what would you recommend?
Absolutely. I just get on a schedule. I'm going to say get on that schedule so that you're applying to one scholarship per week, right? When you get in a habit and you are actually applying, then I think it's very beneficial for them to realize that this is very doable because they're just tweaking those essays. And it really is only taking about 20 to 30 minutes each weekend, checking in and doing it. So I would say it becomes the numbers game, right, of going after a ton of scholarships after you've learned how to win, which is learning how to stand out and having every aspect of that scholarship application be stellar and memorable. But I will say one thing about being memorable. I call it my red mittens, which is how to stand out from the others. How can that one essay be different? And I would say I'm a big fan of a motif, right? That's throughout the essay that's going to help, clarify the students' points. Not just a theme of perseverance that seems to be very common in college entrance essays as well as scholarship. So I would say a motif of wind, water, that, those are different. Scholarship judges aren't really used to seeing that, but it's a way for that writing to just really stand out.
Fantastic. Leah, obviously we could talk about this all day. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
If listeners would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Absolutely. They can reach out via email, which is just info@hortontestprep.com, or they can follow me on Instagram, and it's just at Leia LeMaster Horton.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Test and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.